This is the next lesson in this Racing Lawnmower Quick Start Guide. This really isn't much of a lesson, as more an update. I want to actually go over the changes that I've made to the machine. A couple other things that I originally thought would work through that build guide didn't quite work the way I wanted, so I've changed them since then, and I just wanted to put this out and explain what I've done and why. So there were 3 changes that I've really made. The first thing I did was I put a bigger steering wheel on, and I did that purely because my daughter didn't have enough upper body strength to fight the machine, so I went with the bigger steering wheel so she'd have more leverage. Not a big change, but still a change from original. Still got the same throttle hooked on there. I use those. It's the bike brake system. The reason I do that is because they've got a return spring built into the lever right down here. So that's one return spring on the throttle system, so it won't over rev or get out of control. The other thing that I've changed was right down here. Originally I was hooking to the stock throttle assembly, and all I was doing was sliding across the bottom, and it worked. It really did work, but it made the throttle very stiff. I mean, it was almost uncomfortable after you'd been running it for 10-15 minutes. So what I've done is I've drilled a small hole right there in the governor arm. I'm still using the stock spring off of the system. That spring tension is important if you're going to keep it governed. And then all I've done is I've created a little hook. And let me go in here a little bit. I use these throttle linkages. I can pick them up at a hardware store or whatever. That didn't clean that up very well. And then I've put this return spring system on. And that's all I've done. The most important part of the whole thing is right there. I'm still using that stock spring. And all I'm doing is I adjust this stop right here. I'll adjust this in and out to get more RPMs out of it. It gives me just a finite tuning. So anyway, I can dial that in, and the way this works is, let me pull this. All it does is, when I pull it, it pulls the spring, pulls it back, and if I want more spring tension, I can adjust that, and that's pretty much it. So, in doing so, of course, I had to run a manual choke, which is right up there. That's what that is. And like I say, I've ran this change through the whole race season, been able to get the RPMs dialed in perfect. I'm not over revving at all. The machine's behaving. It's working good. So, and it's not made the throttle so hard that it's just miserable to run the machine. So I think that's about it. Oh, the other change. I got one other change I got to show you, which is back here. I'll have to grab a light to show you. So originally I came up with this idea of that top idler like that. Well, what I was finding, it works well, but what I was finding is that over time it would loosen itself up and it would lighten up on the tension. And so if you can see, let me put that bar, which is where I'm pointing the light to, I've put that little piece of flat bar on. So what I did is I tightened it up, and then I built that bar, measured it. And so what that bar does, that piece of flat bar, it'll swing out of the way so I can change belts easy, but it will stop it from becoming too loose. And I think what I'm going to do is probably over on the one side, I'm probably going to drill a hole and bolt that bar down. So it'll just give me another way to fasten it down. It works, but as the belts get wore out and they get hot and they stretch, I find that I need just a little bit more adjustment in it. So this system works, but I think I'd add another bolt hole in it somehow. Maybe a little longer piece. That didn't help. Maybe if I put a little longer piece of tubing back this way with another hole, with maybe some holes drilled in it so it can't go anywhere. But other than that, I'm not gonna redo it. I'm just gonna drill a hole, like I say, right up in here, and then I'll bolt that through or pin it or something like that. But I do like the fact that I don't have to climb under the machine, change that top belt. I can get this, thread this in and adjust it, and it works well. So I think that's about it. And like I say, just wanted to mention those couple changes that I had to do throughout the racing season. The machine's been great. It's been great for my daughter. It is a real good. It's really competitive on the track. So the height is just right, I think. I think the one thing that I would do now, I didn't do, I started doing with my machines and I won't do again, is I did put the front end about a ½ inch lower than the back end. And I'm actually going to be building a couple of CPs, and I won't do that. If I do anything, I'll put the front end a ½ inch higher. The reason for that is you want the oil to be back in the back of the motor where the sump is. So anyway, I like the looks of it, but I'm not going to do it. It's not functional. So with this one here, I just wanted to show you these changes. I'm actually going to take this motor out, and I'm actually going to put a 17 horsepower motor in it that I've picked up. So I figured I'd put this out as an update. And I emphasize that in the first few lessons. You know, build you a good frame. Put most of your energies into the frame. Because now for me to take this to the next class, get a bigger motor, it's 4 bolts. I have to do a little bit of the exhaust work because I've got an overhead valve motor, but nothing. I don't have to do any chassis changes. I don't have to do anything like that. All I have to do is unbolt the motor, put the new one in. So, and the chassis can handle going up through the classes. So I think that's about it. And when I start building my next couple of machines for this race season, I'll do the same. I'll video them and I'll put them out. We'll talk to you later.